What up, what up, what up? It's your boy EJ, aka Mr. Conversation. And y'all are tuned in to a new episode of The Hot Seat. Man, listen, I always have a great time when I'm doing this type of stuff. But today is special to me because when I get to do politics stuff, I really enjoy it. So without further ado, I have District 7 City Council candidate Chiara Richardson. How are you doing today?
I'm fantastic. How about yourself?
I am wonderful. I want to say thank you very much for deciding to come on this platform. Greatly appreciate it, man. Greatly.
Absolutely. Thank you for inviting me and giving me this space and opportunity to sit down with you.
No problem. So let's get straight into the conversation, right? First question that I want to ask you for the people who don't know you yet, who is Chiara Richardson beyond politics? Before we even get to the politics, let's talk about who are you?
I am a daughter, a sister, a friend. I am a Columbus native, born and raised here. I went to Forest Road Elementary, Fort Middle School. I attended Carver High School, and I graduated from Shaw High School. I am a creative at heart, whether that is performing spoken word or acting, painting, anything artistic is really a true love of mine. I love working with young people. I think they're our promise and our future. And so we have to get things right for them. And I enjoy spending time with my family. And newly, I like cooking a little bit more than I
Okay.
than I used to growing up. I think it was washing the dishes that made me hate it so much. But now I'm a little bit more into hosting the holidays and all of that good stuff. Those are my joys.
Okay. So, by the way, before we get too far in the interview, anybody, if you have a question that you have, you can put it in the comments. Now, long as they're respectful, I'll read some of them out and we can get to them. All right. The next question is what made you say that you wasn't just going to complain, but actually get out and run?
Speaking of complaining, I've been self-aware for a really long time, right? And so I know that I love to complain. I acknowledge that about myself. But what I also do is when I get to a point that I feel like I've complained too much, my next question is, what are you going to do about it? So for me, I feel like this is my what am I going to do about it? Um, I saw a space. Sometimes you see a space that needs to be filled, and I examine myself and where I am in life, and said, "Hey, let me put my best foot forward to represent my community." I am a protector at heart, and so when things started to shift a little bit, you know how people throw their arm across the seat to make sure you're safe. So my arm went across the seat. So that has led me here.
Okay. So, how long have you been in District 7? Since I'm asking this because
Mhm,
you're running for it.
for
How
sure.
long have you been here? And tell us
I
about it.
have been in District 7 for 4 years now.
Okay.
For sure. Yes.
All right.
And so
What moved you into District 7?
what moved me into District 7?
Hmm.
So I lived away for a while and I moved back home and I ended up living off of 13th Street. And this is also part of, I guess, how I ended up wanting to represent my district in a different way is that I lived on one side of Winton Road where I could walk to shops and things were accessible and a nice little grocery store and all of that goodness, a beautiful little park. And as life would have it, life happens. And so my apartment flooded and I ended up having to move. And I moved on the other side of Winton Road. So I moved off of Brown Avenue. And the quality of life is a little bit different just from one side of a street to the other. And so it's not only just a change, but it's a visible change. Like you can literally see from the how the streets are to how things are upkept. Um,
Yeah. But what area is District 7 encompass?
so yes, District 7, I like to say is a pretty long district that extends from probably like the bottom of Bibb City to encompass uptown all the way to South Columbus that encompasses Oakland Park. So it's a pretty long district.
Shout out to OP. I stayed there for multiple years, man, right there on Broadmoor, across from the food store, our store. It's called our store back
Mhm.
then. Yeah, shout out to them. Key Elementary had my kids go there for a few years in elementary school, so very familiar. Okay, now, um, as far as that brought you to District 7 is
Mhm.
long. You've explained how far it goes. Now, we're going to talk about what is the biggest issue that you feel is in District 7 and what platform are you running on for running for District 7?
Well, I feel like one of the major issues that we have in District 7 and beyond is the trust in our city government. And I feel like there's a disconnect between residents and the decisions that are being made. So it's a feeling of decisions are being made for and around people without the actual connectedness of the people. And so one of my platforms that I'm running on is people centered leadership. I believe that decisions should include the people, not just when I think of representative, I think of I want to know your voice, I want to know your thoughts, I want to know your ideas. I've always been a what I like to consider a dot connector, someone who is able to match people with resources, with the things that they need. And so I look forward to bringing that into this role and just reconnecting people and an excitement about civic engagement.
Okay. Do you think District 7 is being underserved or mismanaged in any way?
I think that everyone's not having the same experience. And I think that we can for sure benefit for more equitable opportunity and access for everyone.
Especially considering since District 7 is so
Mhm.
wide,
It's
encompassing,
vast,
there
right?
are parts of District 7 that receive more than some others.
Right, you can see the visible growth of Uptown, while 31903 is still not only one of the poorest areas in the city, but also in the state, and so we have to look at how we are, allocating our resources to make sure that they are equitable for everyone in the district.
Okay. So since you brought that up, want to follow up. What can you do when you win to help that? Make sure that the resources are allocated properly. Who do you talk to at city council? What can you do to help try to change that?
I think part of it is what are we prioritizing? So first, I would have to understand deeply what the landscape is already, right? So as a candidate, I'm, of course, doing as much research as possible, but I absolutely know that it's different once you are in those chambers, once you're able to have a inner access, right? So I think part of that is understanding the landscape, understanding the areas where we can improve at the allocations of funding. So for me, I've always been a champion for young people, right? So I think that we can for sure take a look at how we are allocating our resources when it comes to crime for prevention. How what that looks like when we're talking about our parks and recreation that used to thrive in a different way than it may be today. So those are some of the areas that I would definitely hone in. Initially, I've had the opportunity to sit in on a community reinvestment meetings where we talk about affordable housing, and having the opportunity to ask the director, like, in your ideal world, like what would the funding look like to maximize this particular program in which he's helping people attain housing, helping people to fix up their housing. So how do we give the authorities, give the committees the leverage and the power that they need to really function at maximum capacity to serve the people?
Okay. Listen, when you doing an interview and the interviewee already starts hitting some of your next questions, they doing their thing. So housing and development, since we'll skip to that a little bit since you're talking about that.
Mhm.
I've seen you on your platform, you've talked about that multiple times. So as Columbus grows, how do you prevent people in District 7 from being pushed out if even if we do bring in new opportunities and new housing for them?
For sure. I think that everything requires balance, right? Um, yes, Columbus should be a place that is inviting to new people, but you should never forget about the people who have established this as home. You should never forget about people who have resided in their homes for 50 plus years, that legacy that they want to leave for their children. So part of also my concern is, if I'm just being honest, one of my neighbors recently, before I even moved to where I live now, I saw a tree in her yard, and I knew that this tree was going to fall soon, right? So my mind starts working as what resources are available for my elder neighbor to be able to prevent this. And I went down a little path, and I came up with not a lot. So those type of things are important, ensuring that we're stabilizing communities for people who are already here, that we're supporting them in ways that they can continue the longevity of their own homes. That's just not a pass by night thing. That should be a priority, the same priority that we seek to welcome new people here.
Okay, so when it comes to upkeep,
Hmm.
you said you went on a trail to
Hmm.
see. Now, with your research,
Hmm.
what would you do now? If you had the control to be able to set something up, how would you do it?
I would for sure, one, make it make information more accessible. I'm not saying that we don't have organizations or programs that already exist, but sometimes it's hard to connect people with the things that they need. And it shouldn't be that hard. It should be a phone call away. It should be a look on the website and it's 2 clicks away. So that's part of what I'm saying when I talk about things being accessible. It shouldn't take, days of research to find out if I could call this person, then I may have to call connect. Like it, I like to make things as easeful for people to get what they need as possible.
Okay. So, would you commit to maybe something like a better apps, better
Oh, for sure.
the better websites that
For
are easier
sure.
to be able to reach the things, even if it's something as simple as making the font bigger, making it,
For
you know,
sure.
flashy lights that bring you directly to where you need to go.
All of those things are accessibility, right? And part of my work is I do make websites, right? So I know that everything should be at least 2 to 3 clicks away. It should not be, a scavenger hunt to go to this place, to the site map, and all of those things, because that's not ease of use for everyone. And so when we're talking about creating equitable access and easier accessibility, those are like minor things that make a huge difference for a large demographic of our citizens.
All right. So now, since we've covered that, we've covered the housing, we've got to cover public safety. All right.
Mhm,
So in this district,
mhm.
it's said that there's a high rate of crime. All right. Now I'm getting to the specifics in that, but in general, what can we do besides just more policing?
Right. I think a lot of times the easy answer is, oh, we need more police. But the truth is, the police are like at the end result of things, right? There's so much more that we can be doing on the front end when we talk about our community, when we talk about, and again, I'll say this to the ends of times, I am a champion for young people. I think that they need more opportunity and more access to activities that are going to create a pathway to whether that is a pathway to college, a pathway to workforce, a pathway to creative arts. Those things are necessary. I think about how we sometimes, I think about how when I talk about parks and recs, when I was younger, parks and rec, we had midnight foot basketball. If you weren't doing a school thing, you were doing something with parks and recs. And so my grandma always used to say, idle time is a devil's workshop, right? So we have to get our young people opportunity and things to do. I even think about how our economy has shifted and things are so much more expensive. When you pull up to a fast food place and you see an elder working there that typically before that may not have been the case, right? But those are also jobs that a teenager probably would have had before. So we're talking about them having less jobs. We're talking about them having less accessibility to activities. What do you think is going to happen? All of these things are not isolated. They are all interconnected. When we're talking about quality, affordable housing, when we're talking about living wages, when we're talking about access and opportunity for young people, those are not separate issues. They're all interconnected and play a huge role in what I believe is an increase in crime.
Okay, let me cover a couple of comments. Miss Nicole says here in her county, if a tree belongs to the county, they will come out and remove it. Very simple process. So
Mhm,
she is absolutely correct. It should be that simple.
mhm.
Okay. Mr. Wilson says, can we hold homeowners of blighted communities accountable? And yes, also more affordable after school programs. So could you talk to us about how can we hold homeowners in blighted communities accountable? The ones that, you know, have all the trash everywhere, or they have the houses that are dilapidated and,
Mhm.
messed up.
So here's the thing, I think we have the systems in place, right? I think part of the problem is the enforcement of those systems that already exist. And then another part of it is, though, we do have in this community a aging community, right? So who may not have the access or the privilege to their family members to help do X, Y, and Z. So we as a community have to take a stake in their living, in their home ownership to ensure that we are covering them as well. So I think it's twofold. Um, Part of that work is on us as a community, and part of that work also is on the city to enforce the systems that we already have in place because these things already exist. So it's just a matter of ensuring that we are enforcing and upholding what already is in place.
Okay, so follow up on that.
Mhm.
Get a little more specific. How do we enforce that? What can we do to make sure that it's done correctly? Or what can you do in your position as city council?
That is surely one of the things that I do want to ensure that I'm visiting, that we are holding departments accountable, that we are equipping them with the resources and the and making sure that people are running as fully staffed as possible. Because I don't know if people realize we have a lot of vacancies in our city government. And so of course that impacts how things operate and how they run.
This come from me. Some would say, stop trying to save money and pay these folks so they can do their
Hey
jobs.
now.
That comes from Mr.
Hey
Conversation.
now.
That's what I'm saying. Okay. So getting back to her and her opinions and things,
Mhm.
we need to talk about the economy some more. Now, one thing, talk to me about something that is hurting small businesses right now. What's going on?
I think all of it works in a cycle, right?
Okay.
If I don't have the monies, then I'm going to be less likely to go out to eat. I'm going to be less likely to do recreational activities. If I've had to increase my hours of working just so I could sustain my living and taking care of my children and all of that, people have their purses clutched. And it's not, for any reason. It is because we have seen a great influx and our wages are staying the same. That's a problem. So I think that creating it's not just and it's just not a local problem, right? We know nationally that inflation is a problem. And I think that is one of the major things that may be impacting our small businesses right now is people just don't have the extra.
Okay. So, all right. Now let's get to some accountability type stuff, right?
Mhm,
That's a word right now that a lot of people have an issue with.
mhm.
But um, Columbus leadership in general, especially in what you're trying to do you feel that they've fallen short, especially in recent times?
I think that improvement and priority uh, definitely has a place in where our city government is right now. Um, I can't attest and account for things that have happened in the past. I am a future oriented person. So I look at it as what can we do moving forward to improve? What can we do moving forward to look at what has happened and say, we're not going in that direction again. This is how we move forward together. I do think that it is collaboration is important, diversity is important, and that's part of why I think it is important important for someone like me to run, because I think that ordinary people do extraordinary things every day. And so, in saying that, it is my goal that we are pushing for more diversity among leaders in Columbus that come from different paths and walks of life, so that more people are represented as we're making decisions and as we are working together and towards a better Columbus.
Okay, so when you win,
Hey now.
give me a time frame on when I can come back to you and say, "Hey, these are the things you said." How long do you want, or do you think it would take you to put some of these systems in place that you're talking about?
I think that a year is a good measure, right? A good time to measure where you are, to see if there has been any change in the community, their access to what is happening, their access to information, to see if there has been any consistency in how we are holding our departments accountable, especially when it comes to, our blight in the community, when it comes to maintaining our neighborhoods. I think a year is a good, time frame to see what has shifted and what has changed and what improvements have we made
Okay.
together.
So give me one specific thing as a marker that you want to have been changed, or something that you can say is better to point to. Because 365 days from the election,
Mhm.
I'm gonna come calling you
Oh, please.
and I'm gonna say, "Come on back on the show."
Definitely my first thing is communication, because when I have been, when you're out in the community and you're talking with people, you're understanding people don't have an awareness of what's happening around them. I think that we can do a better job of that. We are in 2026. There's no reason why I can't text you. There's no reason why I can't hold regular town hall meetings. There's no reason why you can't get a newsletter from me. There's no reason why people are less informed. So that I'm a communications person, and I know that people need to receive things in multiple ways. I can't just say, "Hey, it's on the city's website." No, it needs to come to you as well. And so I look forward to being able to share information with citizens in as many ways as possible so they do feel connected.
Okay. Give us a hard truth for District 7 voters that they might not want to hear.
You have to vote. You have to get out and vote. I have ran across so many people who have been discouraged by just even previous elections, or how they feel that their voice doesn't matter. And in District 7, which is one of the lowest voter turnouts, we leave so much power on the table when we just don't show up to vote. That is the first step. And I also like to always share with people, voter registration is important, but voter registration without voter education is dangerous. So when you are voting, make sure that you have a plan. Make sure that you are aware of where people stand when you're voting for them. So even if you're not voting for me, make sure that you know where the person you're voting for, know where they stand, know that they're going to represent you, know that they will be accessible to you, and know that they have the best of intentions when representing you and not the intentions of other people. We'll say
Okay. Now, so I want to ask you a question, since you were talking about stances, right?
that. Mhm.
Now, I will say before I ask this question that this is something that will already be fully 100% decided and happening before you get in. But this still is a hot button issue that everybody is talking about, and that is these data centers. All right. So, what is your official stance on data centers?
As I stated previously before, I have attended the majority, we'll say, of the data center meetings. So it would be crazy for me to attend all of these mini meetings and sit here and be like, I don't have an opinion. Um, I think that the information that has been shared with us is not enough information. I think that we are missing several key pieces to this puzzle when we talk about what are the environmental risks. What does this look like not just 3 years from now? What does this look like 10 years from now? how this not only impacts the environment as we're talking about the land, as we're talking about the air quality, how does this impact us as human beings? And so those are the questions that I have that have yet to be answered from this um, uh, time. And also, one of the things that I also like to bring up that I have not heard conversation about is that we have over 100 data centers that have been built here in um, Georgia. We have more data centers that are being built as we speak. So we're not the only people who use the Chattahoochee. We're not the only people who get our power from Georgia Power or Flint Energies. So what does that look like in synchronicity? What does that look like when all of those things are pulling from the very same resources? No one is giving us an answer. So if I had to give an answer today with the information that I have been given, with the information that I've read for myself, I could not in good faith say that this is the best decision for Columbus. I can also say, like, maybe, 10 weeks from now, we'll have these new discoveries that point to something different. But as of today, with what has been shared with us, I can in good faith say this is, the best decision for our city.
Understood. Now, we're going to close you out with this. Give us 90 seconds on why that someone in District 7 should vote for you.
Why someone should vote for me? Well, for me, this isn't about a title. It's not a checklist that I'm moving on to the next thing. It is because I'm a resident of District 7. I have a heart for the people. I've always been a servant of the people. From volunteering my time throughout this community for young people to the actual work that I do. I believe that our citizens deserve leadership that is responsive to them, that is going to be thoughtful and considerate of their voice in making decisions. I'm not a person who goes rogue and like, I know more than everybody. No, it is the people who are driving me in this decision. And it will be the people who, when I sit in that seat, um, that will stay close to my heart and my decision making moving forward.
All right. If they need to reach you, how are they get in contact with you? Not your number. You ain't gonna do that.
Not
right,
my
but-
number.
Yeah.
You can, for now, reach me at info@Chiara for district7.com. I am on Instagram, on Facebook, and it is all Chiara for district7.com. My website, did I say .com? You know what I mean, at Chiara for District 7. And my website is also Chiara for district7.com.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Chiara Richardson, who is going for District 7 City Council seat. Thank you very much for tuning in to this episode of The Hot Seat. I know you guys see a lot of different things on here, but this is the politics version of The Hot Seat, y'all. So thank you very much, and we'll catch y'all on the next one.